He catches it in thunder. Don't down. Boom.
I don't know why there's no video. It was just working.
He catches it in thunder. Don't down. Boom.
From the classic, Hank Gather's slam dunk and running back down the court. It's not like we saw signs that he wasn't feeling so well. It just happened.
It's March 4th, 1990. Loyola Marymount was up against Portland State in the NCAA West Coast Conference Tournament. 23-year-old Hank Gathers was one of the best college basketball players in the country and was sure to have a professional career. Nobody could foresee that this would be his last game.
Split second.
I'm so sorry the video didn't work. According to Eric Spoelstra in an LA Times interview, Gathers was an unbelievable physical specimen. The 220-pound, 6'7" basketball star passed away not even 2 hours after he collapsed on the court. Now you might be asking yourself, how or why did this happen? He was young, he was healthy, he was under the care of team physicians. Well, it turned out that Gathers had a type of sudden arrhythmia death syndrome, also known as SADS, which encompasses a variety of genetic heart conditions that can cause sudden death in apparently young and healthy people. The type of condition that Gathers had is a type of long QT syndrome, which is the same heart condition that I happen to have. But today, I'd like to give you some insight into long QT syndrome, how my family discovered the syndrome, and the ways it has affected my life. According to the SADS Foundation, long QT syndrome is a disturbance of the heart's electrical cycle. It causes a prolonged QT interval and occurs in about every 1 in 2,500 people. If you have ever seen an electrical cardiogram or an EKG, you may notice that there are several peaks and valleys in the wave signal. The wave is measured and named with the letters P, Q, R, S, and T. The QT interval, shown here, is a measure of time between the start of the Q wave and the end of the T wave. And a prolonged QT interval, according to Stanford Healthcare, is dangerous, as it may lead to potential ventricular arrhythmias, which are abnormally fast heartbeats that occur in the ventricles. A doctor may not be able to detect the abnormality with a stethoscope, but a lengthened QT interval is easy to detect with an EKG or genetic testing. My journey with long QT syndrome has been a unique one and began many years ago with my grandpa and his sister. My great aunt was a healthy teenager and loved to go swimming in the lake with my grandpa. One day, she dove into the lake just as she had done so many times before and never came back up. Strangely enough, there was no water found in her lungs, even though her death was ruled a drowning. It wasn't until decades later that my grandpa came across a Reader's Digest article about long QT syndrome. And he brought it to his cardiologist, and it turned out that he actually had the syndrome, and his sister was believed to have it as well. Our family medical histories were compared, and it turned out that my aunt and my mom also have the condition. So when I was born, my parents had me genetically tested to see if I carried the gene, because a child born to an affected parent has a 50% chance of getting the defective gene. So it turns out that my grandpa, my mom, my aunt, my brother, and I all have the genetic condition. And according to the BMC database, 33% of cardiac events suffered by long QT patients occurred while swimming. But back then, nobody knew about long QT syndrome, and doctors continue to learn more every day. But most importantly, they learned that patients with long QT syndrome should never swim alone. From a young age, I've been placed on multiple different types of medications called beta blockers, which steady the heart rate. Propranolol, nadolol, and atenolol are a few of the most common types of beta blockers, but they come with many different types of side effects, such as drowsiness and fatigue. Soccer, softball, and swimming were just a few of the many things I loved to do as a kid. But as I got older, we were advised to stop playing because it's dangerous to participate in high-intensity sports. But as time went on, I ended up picking up competitive and high school volleyball, but only under very close cardiologist supervision. As the age divisions got more competitive, I was required to carry an automated external defibrillator, or AED, in my bag at all times. According to the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, an AED is a lightweight portable device that can deliver an electric shock to the heart. In addition to carrying an AED, I have biannual checkups with my cardiologist, and also various types of heart monitors, such as electrocardiograms, EKGs, which we talked about earlier, and Holter monitors and Zio patches, which are both shown right here. Holter monitors and Zio patches are both portable devices that record EKGs and transmit them directly to my cardiologist. Although these devices are typically a little bit uncomfortable and not the most fashion forward, they truly are valuable diagnostic tools. This past summer, my brother and I went in to get our yearly Zio patches put on, and the results showed that my brother's Zio patch detected a 3-second episode of ventricular tachycardia, which is basically a few seconds of extremely rapid heartbeats. Because of the incident, my brother was then told he would have to get an implantable cardioverter defibrillator, or ICD, surgically placed. This here is actually a real ICD. And according to ADAM, an ICD is a device that keeps track of one's heart rate through wires that are embedded into the heart tissue. ICDs and AEDs, both shown here, are both examples of defibrillators, so they can both administer an electric shock. But ICDs have a greater chance of preventing sudden death. Now that all of my affected family members have ICDs, there's been some discussion about whether I will be getting one in the near future. As modern medicine is evolving, my doctors have implemented various preventative measures, such as increased doses of beta blockers, increased stress tests, and increased EKGs and heart monitors, as opposed to me getting an ICD. I also wear this Apple Watch, and it has a little heart monitor right here, so I can record my own EKGs at the touch of a thumb. Of course, I hope I will not have to get an ICD, but I'm prepared, as I know it is a definite possibility. So here's an example of where an ICD is surgically placed in the heart, and that this is just a normal AED that you guys have probably seen before. Long QT syndrome is in fact a silent killer. Long QT may be difficult to identify if there isn't a known family history of carrying the gene, but it is easily detectable, and there are many treatment options. In the case of Hank Gathers, an apparently young, healthy athlete dropped to his death suddenly. Therefore, I urge all of you to ask your doctors next time you go in for a regular checkup to identify your QT interval. So have a heart and save your own. Thank you.
Okay, Emily, how was that for you?
I think it was well.
Okay.